Hey guys, it's Seid,
I'm Mike.
My name is Parker.
and this is the Try Hard Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to yet another very exciting episode of the Try Hard Podcast. Today, we are going to be doing a debrief of the Ironman Texas race, how Seid managed to finish after crash, and how I managed to DNF. But before we get into that, we would first like to thank the sponsor of today's episode, the Naperville Acupuncture Center. If you're in the Chicagoland area and are looking to get some dry needling or acupuncture done, I cannot recommend them enough. I've been going to go see Frank and Angela every week for the past couple of months, and they have been key in keeping me healthy and enabling me to elevate my training. As a special offer, if you mention my name or this podcast during your visit, you'll receive a discount on your very first treatment. All right, back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here from Lake Placid, New York. Me, Parker, and Jake. And then we've got Seid on the call as well. We're going to give a quick recap of Ironman Texas and debrief from Parker's perspective and Seid's perspective. And then Jake will maybe throw in some questions here and there. So, boys, kick us off. Let's talk about race morning. How is everyone feeling?
Seid, you want to start off?
Yeah, sure. So I woke up at 3:30, got a bagel and I was starting to feel good. Started foam rolling, and then I was just looking at my phone like the whole time to see if it was a wetsuit or not. So I was like, do I put the calf sleeves on? Do I not put them on? And then we're texting in. Was that chat is a chat with me, Parker, and I think all his athletes, and then one of the athletes said that it was wetsuit legal. I didn't get the Ironman notification yet, so I was like, oh, is this happening or not? But then we figured out it was happening, so figured out it was wetsuit, and I was really hyped for that. Then got ready, I think I got to the transition right at 5, right when it opened, and then met up with Parker and everyone. So that's basically the intro of my morning. What about you, Parker?
Similar, actually. I woke up at right around between 3:30, 3:45. I did notice that my HRV was super low. Usually it's between 100, 105 to 115. I think it was around 70. Resting heart rate was also pretty high. So I knew kind of off the bat, I wasn't feeling like I normally feel before a race. I don't know why. Yeah, don't know why. Everything else leading up to it was great. But anyway, chalked it off to, race nerves, whatever it may be. Then woke up, had some breakfast, ate some carbs, started sipping on some raw fuel. Then, yeah, made my way over to transition. My uncle dropped my mom and I off, got the bike set up, was also very excited that it was wetsuit legal. I was surprised at how long it took Ironman to send out a notification through the app, because I think it was the race director posted on Facebook pretty early, like right around 4:15. But honestly, I don't even remember seeing a notification from the app before we started. Do you, Sade?
No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time that's ever happened. But anyway, made our way over to, yeah, got the bike ready. Let Sade borrow my pump. And then funny story. Sade, I give Sade my pump, and I had the crack pipe attached to it because I just finished pumping up my rear disc with the crack pipe. I give Sade the pump, and then a few minutes later, Sade comes back over. He's like, Parker, how do you work your pump? This is not working. He's like, can you help me out? I'm like, oh boy, what is Sade doing now? Walk over, figure out that Sade is trying to pump up his non-disc wheel with a crack pipe. So that anyway, we figured that out.
That should still work. So I don't know what Seid was on
Well,
that morning, but
it does work, but you need someone to hold the crack pipe in.
oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I don't think he was like, it's not filling up.
I was like so confused. I was like doing it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm wasting too much time here. I'm gonna go find Parker and figure this out.
So for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what this reference to a crack pipe is, it's an attachment to pump up a disc wheel, because usually you can't put the normal like press to valve in the little small slot for the disc wheel.
Very good clarification.
Yeah, nobody's doing crack.
Yeah, we hope not, at least. So anyway, after we got Said's tires pumped up, we walked over to transition, or to the swim start rather. And probably a pretty long walk, about 20 minutes, wore the flip flops, and yeah, was excited. Wetsuit legal, got the wetsuit up. Big thanks to Natasha for helping me pull the wetsuit. Pull the wetsuit up, get it all nice and tight. Felt like giving me a wedgie.
You know, it's funny that you said you did the walkover in flip flops, because I specifically remember Natasha at the team dinner saying, "Please wear running shoes over through from transition to swim start, not flip flops."
Well, I wore socks too, so
okay.
I made sure to do that.
All right.
And it was all on pavement, so
yeah.
And then pretty much got ready to go. I think that pretty much.
Yeah, that's when I met up with you guys.
Yeah,
it was on the walkover. Was just getting video of you guys, and then you guys got ready to at the swim start staging. How did that go? Like, did you guys feel like that you seated yourself into the right like timing spot? Like, and for those that don't know, an Ironman or a half Ironman, usually they seed the swimmers by your projected swim time. So they'll have people with little signs that say like 1 hour to say hour 5 or hour 20 to hour 30.
And that's not swim pace. That is your projected time. So
projected time.
Some people ask me, some of my new athletes are like, could I seed myself with a 1 minute per 100-yard swim group? I know that's 1 hour. That's not. No, so what I tried to do was I just tried to find Will Watson and Alex Sharp, because I knew that they would, or at least I thought, and I tried to find Ezra too. Although I wasn't able to find Ezra. I found Will and Alex, so I tried to start with them. And also Hunter. Hunter, one of my other athletes, he also was gonna have a very similar swim time, I think. So, or at least I thought he would. So we tried to all kind of start together. And I think we ended up, they only had, I think the fastest sign I saw was 105. I didn't see anything. Usually there's like a sub 1 hour. I didn't see that sign, but I seated myself toward the front. How about you, Say? Where did you end up seating yourself?
I seated myself in between the 110 and 120, because I was going for the 75.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so swim start, was it choppy? Was it congested, or was it pretty open?
I think it was, for me personally, I didn't find it, any too choppy, too congested. But I will mention the fact that the swim was kind of the first kind of big indicator that I knew was going to be not my day. I should probably change this on my watch, but my watch buzzes every 500 yards or so in the swim. And I knew that for an hour swim, you need to swim about a 125 pace. And I knew that I wanted to swim an hour. So, and especially since I get slower the longer the swim goes on, I wanted to split the first 500 between a 115 and a 120 pace, especially in the past. That's kind of where I've been at for about a 62-minute Ironman swim. And I saw the first 500 hours right at 125 pace, which I knew, okay, this is, it's going to be a bit slower of a swim than I expected. I thought I went out a bit harder, but I guess not. How about you, Said? How did the first bit of the swim go?
Yeah, the first bit felt really good, but then I realized, so you were saying that your watch beeps at 500, so does mine, but then I realized like probably it was 15, 20 minutes in, and I was like, why isn't my watch beep yet? And I just realized I didn't have it going, and I was like, oh, like
you didn't start your watch?
No, so I thought I could have swore I started it, but I guess I didn't, or maybe someone hit me while swimming the start, and then I didn't get any of those beeps, so that just completely threw me off on like pacing wise. But overall, the first 500 felt really good, I would say. I don't know the distance exactly, because I didn't have I have no notification or anything, but I felt really good for the first, I would say honestly the first half of the swim I felt really good.
Do you remember what you split for the first half?
No, let me check.
You were 30-27.
Yeah, I split right at 30. And I actually noticed, so I actually held 125 pace, I think, for almost the first 1,500 yards. And then I think it started falling a little bit off of that. And then, yeah, so I ended up splitting 30, 20 something for the first half and then 32 for the second half. So I ended up swimming a 102. And actually, someone lapped my watch in right around the halfway point. And so for the second half of the swim, my watch was in transition mode. So I didn't get any of the data for the second half. And that's why I was asking everyone what did I end up swimming, because I had no idea. But I knew I was actually kind of surprised I didn't fall off more. So I was a little happy. I was definitely happy with that. But I was definitely pretty frustrated with the fact that I only swam 102, especially since that's the exact same time I swam last year. I think it's actually a few seconds slower. So I was a little discouraged about that. But when I heard that Ezra swam a 59, and Ezra is much faster than me in the pool. So when I heard that he only had a 3-minute gap on me, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe just a slow swim for everyone. But
seemed like that across the board. I don't, at least from an age grouper standpoint, I don't think there were many people that were swimming maybe faster than expected, from what I heard. A couple people.
Yeah, I think it was slow, but I do know that Alice actually swam Alice Alberts, another NVDM pro athlete. She swam 2 minutes faster actually this year than last year at Texas.
Yeah.
She swam, I think, a 57, and that was in a swim skin. Last year she swam a 50, or maybe she swam a 59 in last year. No, she swam a 59 last year and a 57 this year, I think. So yeah. But how about you, say what you end up swimming?
Yeah, so no, I swam a 39 first half. So I was like, okay, that's like I was on pace for like an 80-minute swim. So I'd have been really happy with that. But then right after the half point, like I started cramping really bad in both calves, especially on my left calf. Like I actually had to stop, I think, 3 times because it was like insanely like I've never cramped like that during swimming, which was I was really surprised. I've not, like also I was taking so many electrolytes the day before and the morning of. And I really didn't feel too hot in the water either, which was like really weird. So the water felt fine, outside felt fine, but I was like really cramping a lot. So I did have to, so I stopped once before the canal and I stopped 3 times in the canal because I couldn't, like, it was just like really bad that it also went up to my hamstring on my left leg. So I just had to shake it out and then I just keep swimming. So I ended up swimming a 126, which is like really bad, but a 3-minute PR to Florida. So
With the cramps too, I mean, that's not. I mean, the cramps definitely slowed you down a bit, and it's still PR is still a PR. So
yeah,
take it with a grain of salt. So
I really thought I was gonna go sub like 80 or sub 80-minute. And I really do think I have that in me. And my swimming in the pool has been way better than that open water. But I think I'm gonna
that's
have
the
to.
thing, though, and that's something I've learned with triathlon and Ironman. It takes time for swim fitness in the pool to translate to open water.
Yeah,
I find there's usually like, and you can talk to anyone, and they've all told me the exact same thing. It takes about 3 to 4 months for the fitness that you get in the pool to show up open water, just because open water is even more technical, I think, than in the pool. And it just takes more time. It's almost kind of like trail running and running like on a track. That's kind of what I compare the two. You know, you can get so much faster on the track, but that doesn't always translate to running over trail. It's just
yep.
more technical, and you have so much more to take it into account. And you know, you have to take into account swimming on people's feet, you know, sighting, the current, whatever it may be. So
yeah, I think there's some good learning lessons from swims by both you guys. Like me personally, like I have had like the beeping on the watch, at least in a half Ironman, I would have it beep every 10 minutes so that I would have an idea of kind of where I was relative to maybe like 30 minutes. But I don't think I'm going to do that this year. And I think I'm just going to swim purely based on feel. And I don't want to know anything about my stats until I get out of the water, and whatever the time is, that's what the time is. And I think it would probably suit all of us well to get in the open water together and just swim, you know, without form goggles, without even knowing what the watch is saying, and just swim by feel and practice more in the open water. Because that I found, even though if you do a lot of open water, you can lose some of that speed. So you do want to keep your normal swim sessions, but adding in one, at least in the summertime, probably adding in at least one open water swim each week if you have access to it. That's very beneficial.
Yeah, that's what I plan to during the summer. Drive up to Maryland. It's like a 45-minute drive. I think it's called Sandy Point. Just go there a lot. It's really choppy there, which is gonna be good practice for Ironman Maryland, which is usually really choppy. So I'm definitely gonna have to be doing that this summer.
I'm probably gonna have to jump in the Hudson.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's like something I did notice when I was training up in Canada last summer with some of the pro triathletes up there. They were swimming open water 2 to 3 times a week. And what shocked me most was how fast they were open water. Like their open water times to pool times were very similar. So there wasn't that big of a difference. And they had so many more gear. Like when I swim open water, I like it's just a workout for me to swim open water. And they were actually able to do workouts like, 1 lap fast, 1 lap, take out speed and easy. When I like and when I was swimming open water, it's just, swim. And so I think really trying to focus that and learning how to change gears in open water as well. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for the swim portion. Now, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on to the bike. So, Parker, you got on the bike and you said to me afterwards that about a mile or so in, you could tell that you weren't feeling good.
Yeah, I was already kind of and that's the thing with Ironman. It's almost all mental. Not just the race, but the training leading up to it. But I was already kind of like not in the best mood getting on the bike. And then, yeah, within the first few miles of the bike, I knew what 260, 270 watts, which was my target, what that should feel like from training. And I know I mean, I held 260 watts. I think I set a 90-minute power PR, which is, I think, 275 watts, 3 weeks out from Ironman Texas. And it felt like a walk in the park for me. Like I easily could have done another 90 minutes. And so I knew what it was supposed to feel like. And trying to push 260, it felt like I was trying to push like 300. It just, I don't know what was going on. And then on top of that, the wind at my speed, if I wanted to have a 420, 430 bike split, I knew that I was going to have to average between 24, 25 miles an hour, at least close to 25. And I was seeing, 23, it barely passing 23 miles an hour. And it was, yeah, I just started getting in a really negative mindset. And then I started puking a bit. My nutrition was coming back up. I don't know. I honestly don't know why. Maybe I had a little too much the morning of, whatever it may be, but yeah, I just wasn't able to hold anything down.
I have suspicions. I think it was the 21 rice cakes the night before.
Yeah, maybe I had too many rice cakes the night before. I don't know. I was trying to hit like 700, 800 grams of carbs before the night before, which I do carb load before bigger sessions, but not to that extent. So that may have been not the best idea, but a good learning experience. And yeah, say, do you want to touch on, I guess, the bike?
Yeah. So for coming out of the swim, first, let's see. I'm just looking at Training Peaks right now, but the first, yeah. So the first 30 miles, like I just couldn't keep my heart rate down at all. I think the first 30 minutes, my heart rate was just staying at 170, and I wasn't even like pushing like watts at all. Um, like I was holding. So the first 30 miles, I was holding around. I think the splits are, what is it here? 180, then 200, 205, 205, 200, then started going 190, 180 into the headwind. So yeah, I felt really good the first 30 miles other than the heart rate, but I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, it's what happened to me at Florida where I started with low watts coming out the water and then just build throughout. And right as I was about to start building, so mile 30, I was like, okay, we're in the headwind. Let's start pushing the watts again. And then I started pushing the watts, got up to like 230, and it felt like pretty good. I was like, I think I can be able to hold this. But it definitely was kind of draining looking down at the Garmin and seeing that you're going like 18 miles an hour, pushing 230 into the headwind. And I was like, oh, I'm definitely like, sub 5 can happen, but like, it's going to be a tough day. And then I was in a pack of 4 people. So I was at the front of the pack. So I was like, it wasn't even like, so I was at the front of the pack, and then 3 people joined the pack at the back, and then those three stayed in the pack, and they all try to go like overtake me mile 30ish, and this is going up a hill. So it's one of those at the toll roads where it's like the incline, so one of the mini hills. And yeah, so three of them all passed me, and then the last person in that mini pack just like clips my front wheel. My front wheel hits like, and then I swerve, like I hold it for a second, but then I just like swerve right into like the shoulder. And if it was like a flat shoulder, it'd have been completely fine. But the shoulder, this is the only part of the whole course where there's like where it was like maybe 2 centimeters lifted shoulder, and then like my tire just hits that and just like flip. And I was like, oh, I was like, this is brutal. So I was climbing up, like you're climbing up one of the like the mini hills, I guess, on a flat course, and of course his rear tire just clips my front, and then I hit the yeah, I just hit that. I just flip like 1 second later. I just flip, and I was like, "Wow, how did I flip?" I didn't even realize during the moment. And then I just looked at the shoulder, and I realized it was like um taller than the regular road. And then yeah, so I fell right pretty hard onto my hip, and then my completely my arm, and then my front aero bar. So my aero bar just completely like it broke. So I couldn't shift gears from the aero bar into the stronger gear. And after that, I was like, oh, I knew just like my day was kind of like over. Just felt it was really upsetting because I just like knew like so I got like clipped, and I was like moving like got, like I get clipped, and I was like, oh, I think I'll hold this, but then the next second I'm on the floor, and I was like, wow, just like 1 second can like change your whole day. I was like, oh, I'll try, and I was like, as soon as I felt, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get up and like start right away, and I just like noticed like the stinging pain. I was like, I can't start right back on the bike, so set my bike up for on the set it up on the side for like 5 minutes, like stretched out a little bit, and I was like, okay, let's keep. I like just looked at my arm, make sure everything was okay. I didn't really feel my hip at all like then, but then this past like week and a half, it's been like really like hurting a lot, but finally it's like feeling fine. But yeah, after that, just like I took like 5-10 minutes just to regain composure and just to get back on the bike. Aero position was miserable. First off, I couldn't switch gears in it, and then second, I was just like I had a big gash right right above my elbow. So you can like see like it's still like healing now, but like right this was like completely bloody here. And I was just like right near on that. So the whole day I was just like my arrow like my also my hands were also like pretty badly cut up. So my air bars were like bloody. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna finish this. But then after the crash, there was no power to be held. My heart rate was staying at 155, pushing I think 140 watts. I never like push 140 watts. Same like recovery efforts, like are usually at 160. So it's just like that was I think that was the hardest part. Just looking down, like your body's already like broken, like everything is just hurting. But then you're like looking down, seeing your heart rate at 155, pushing 140 watts, and that just like really hurt because like I just working so hard. I've been working so hard the past 4 months. I just felt like I just wasted 4 months of work just on a stupid little crash. But I don't know. I don't think it was I don't know. It's just annoying because what definitely the guy in front of me definitely didn't want to do that either. I don't think, but I don't think he really realized how steep the climb was. Even it wasn't that steep. I just don't know how like he slided right in front of me like that quickly.
A lot of triathletes are notorious for poor bike handling skills. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't I'm sure that was part of it. And him just like once he started to pass you, he probably did like I've had this happen to me before where like I've passed someone and I just like think I'm like farther ahead of them than I really am, and they're actually like just right on your hip.
Yep.
He probably didn't notice that. He's just trying to keep up with that pack, and there was a ton of drafting going on
Oh yeah.
the whole day. There's a lot of videos of it online. It was really bad, but
Yeah.
um, just the fact that you were able to pick yourself back up, finish, especially with the road rash on your arm, putting like that's exactly where your arm was going on your aero pads.
Mhm.
Like, there's a lot of pressure getting put on that for another probably 4 hours worth of
Yeah, I
biking.
think it was like 4.5 hours.
I have a question. Did you ever think about DNFing? Like quitting?
Yeah. Yeah. Like right away, like I was like, oh, like should I just go back? Should I just be like done and like be over with this? Then I was like, I'm gonna get back on the bike and see how I feel. But then the next aid station was I think 8 miles out. So I was like, so from that crash, I was just crying until that aid station. I was like, what do I do? And I was like, I've only done two, like this is my second triathlon ever. Might as well stick it out and finish it. So then yeah, I stopped at that aid station, got cleaned up by the medic team, but then they're like, should we wrap this? Like, you want me to, like take you home and like be done? I was like, for a second, I was like, yeah, I kind of wanted to, but then I just realized like I think I just need this experience to just finish the race. So yeah, I just decided to keep going, and then the next three aid stations I would have to stop because they're just like they're just so like painful and just also just I was just like super in my head. As you said, it Ironman is really mental, and just like looking down at watts that you've like never pushed before in your life, like pushing 140 and feeling like it feels like 250. It's like the worst feeling ever. And that headwind is just miserable. So, but the only fun part of the bike ride was the tailwind was actually really great. Just like holding like 28 miles an hour. That was pretty fun on coming back, but the second round of the headwind was miserable too. But yeah, that's pretty much my bike ride. Just crashed 31. Um, and yeah, I just couldn't push any watts at all. Oh, yeah, I also, yeah. So I think the one thing I didn't go over is like the cramping. So after my crash, I couldn't stop cramping the rest of the day. So it was my quads and into my teardrop and my calves were just cramping. And they wouldn't stop. So I was taking 2K for my bottles. Then every aid station I would stop and I would get 3 mortals. I'd just rip them open and like just down them, like dry scoop them. So that's like 1200 mg as well of sodium, and it still wouldn't stop. I don't know, maybe it was the shock from the crash or something, but that was really frustrating on the bike.
Yeah, so Seid mentioned the tailwind was a lot of fun. I sadly was unable to experience that tailwind because I ended up pulling the plug at right around mile 25. It was a combination of just really getting negative mindset. I had some big expectations, big goals for this race. I was, I the goal was to go 8:30 or bust, and well, I ended up busting. I've never put in a better training block. I've never seen better numbers. I never felt so good leading into a race. And when I saw that that wasn't happening and I wasn't going to have the day that I knew I was capable of, I didn't really know what to do. I cracked. That was definitely part of it. The stomach issues, it just kind of got worse and worse. Started puking more. They get a little bit dizzy. I saw, a medic on the side, and yeah, so I pulled over and got a ride back, and that's kind of where the race ended for me. Went back to the hotel with Mike actually. Mike met me at Mike and my uncle and my mom met me at the medic tent in transition. Saw my coach there too, Natasha and Chris, had a good chat with them, but then yeah, went back to the hotel room and talked to my coach on the phone a bit longer, called my dad. They definitely helped sort some stuff out, helped me get in a bit better of a mindset, and then made my way back over to the race because I had Sage still racing and a few other athletes, all my other athletes were still racing, except for actually Hunter. I mentioned him at the beginning of the race at the swim. He ended up swimming, I think, almost the exact same time as me. But he also ended up pulling out around mile 80 with some stomach issues as well. The water there is not good at the Woodlands. I think that may have been part of the issue as well. I did swallow quite a bit of the water. Now, if I had enough time for the water to start making an impact, I don't know.
Yeah. I can talk to that because the medical team talked to us and they said, like it's not that surprising that they asked where you were on the bike or like how long you were into it. And they were like, yeah, we've seen people get out of the swim and within an hour and a half they're throwing up. And that was probably pretty on par.
Yeah,
So,
that's right about when it started getting really bad. So maybe the water played a role. Yeah, like I said, I know I did swallow a bit more than I would have liked to. But whatever it may, and I have it's still 2 weeks out and I'm still not feeling great from the race. whether that's all mental or some physical, I don't know. All I know is I'm still kind of feeling under the weather a little bit. So maybe that's lingering effects from that. It doesn't really, at the end of the day, though, it doesn't really matter. I had a DNF, and then I spent the rest of the day cheering and supporting athletes, which honestly made the entire trip and experience worth it. Seeing Ironman finish or seeing my athletes become first time Ironman finishers, seeing Seid who ended up accomplishing and finishing the race with the crash and all the other stuff that went on. It was truly an incredible experience. And yeah, definitely humbled me a bit and really let me appreciate why we all do the sport. So yeah, that's where my day kind of ended and also started. Honestly, the second half was much better. But how about you, Say? How'd the rest of the race go for you?
Yeah, so coming off the bike, I saw you, Mike, and Kate cheering. So I was like,
What did you think when you saw me? Did you think I already finished or what?
no. So at first I was like, holy shit, Marco wants up 8:30 because I was like, what? I've been on this bike for 6 hours and 15 minutes, and then and then I said, oh, it swam for like an hour and a half. So I was like, no way, Parker went like a 7:50. I was like, no way. So then I realized, yeah, there's no shot that Parker. At first I was like, oh damn, that's like really weird. And then I was doing the math and I was like, yeah, no way he finished. And I was just like surprised. I was like, I wonder what happened. Because I could have swore I saw you out on the bike, but I guess it was someone else in the MVDM kit and said go Seid, which was weird. But yeah, I got off the bike. So what my bike was 6:15, so that's solid hour slower than Florida. But to be fair, it was like probably 30 minutes of not riding, so it'd probably be a 5:45 split of actual riding.
That was also a much slower course than Florida. I know
Yeah.
Florida, yeah, that was a much slower course. I think even if I didn't pull a DNF, then I was able to hold 250, 260 watts. There's no way I would have been able to go 420, which is what I or 424, which is what I went in Florida. So I think it's at least a fifth that day would have been between 15 and 30 minutes slower if you held the same
Yep.
hour at
Yep.
Florida.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. And speaking of that, just like the course, it was crazy. There was so many people on. I saw one big crash. There was like 6 people on the floor. Like a lot of people. There's a lot of ambulances taking people, and I just also saw like a lot of people just sitting on the side of the roads that were like they're like, which was really surprising. But yeah, going on to the run. Yeah, I felt like I was like, okay, let's just try to have a good run because I didn't push any power on the bike. I was like, okay, I can probably run now, because my legs are like pretty fresh and didn't do anything on the bike, so like I should be able to run now. And then started off the run, felt okay for the first mile and a half, and then just started cramping once again, just like the same cramping from the bike. Um, which I still don't really understand why I was cramping because I was taking a lot of salt. So I crashed. I took salt pills. T2 took a lot of salt pills.
How's your hydration? Do you think because you said you were drinking a lot of electrolytes and do you think you could have almost dehydrated you're drinking so much the 2 days leading up that you almost dehydrated yourself because you're peeing everything out? Do you think that could have been it?
I don't I don't know. I don't think so. I
How
think
was your carb intake on the bike?
I did the same. I went through all my bottles. So I did 120 grams, and then I had 2 Gatorades just to supplement the extra hour I was out there. So probably total being 100 an hour. So I was taking enough carbs and everything.
It might have been just a hydration issue, just either too much or too little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's from like the wetsuit swim. Like I don't feel like I was overheating, but once I started cramping at that like minute 40, I just like I
You
don't
sweat a lot. That definitely could have because you're definitely sweating a lot in the wet, even if you don't feel it
know.
in the wetsuit in that water with
Oh yeah.
with your adrenaline pumping.
With
Yeah,
yeah, with the water being warm too, like only wetsuit legal by what, 0.1
point
degrees,
two.
0.2 degrees. So
Yeah.
that's that's pretty warm. And then especially doing a full Ironman swim in that's toasty.
Yeah. So yeah, I
So
was just saying the run, the 1.5 miles, I was feeling fine. I was like just right around like I think I went out too fast. I was like running like a 7:30, but then I slowed down to like an 8-minute pace and I was like, okay, let's see if I can hold this. And then it started getting rough. I was like, as I said, I was cramping. But then I saw Braden, so I ran with Braden from the team for a while. That was really fun. So he also crashed on the bike. And then we were just like talking like, yeah, it was like a brutal day for him too, because he had big goals too. And then we're just like saying, okay, let's keep running until each aid station. So we would run, make the aid station, walk through the aid station, and start running again. And then we kept doing that for I think I got through the first loop with him, I think. So I got 9 miles in, and then I was like, just keep going, like go on to your last loop. I have 2 more to go. Like and then I just started walking. So then I would walk, run, and then I guess I started running again, mile 15.
I remember you had some I remember Mike and I were talking, and then you started dropping some 7 minutes. Even like I think you had one split that was like 6:40 or something like that.
Yeah, I started feeling like alive again, mile like 15. I was like, okay, let's like see if I can push now. And then I pushed for like 4 miles, and then right back, the cramps just came back and just had to walk. So that was miserable. So just like the whole bike and run, I was just cramping the whole time. Just I don't still like trying to figure out why that was happening, which is still like frustrating, but it is what it is. It also might have been something to do with the crash, maybe like your body just being in shock, but I have no idea.
But
I don't want to like making excuses either.
question for you. When you were taking in the electrolytes, like when you were doing the salt, were they salt pills or what were they?
So yeah, I'd have the precision tablets, so just these.
Were they the precision pill, like salt pills? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, just these, and then I also had the vial of the precision, the tabs, the 1500. So I'd mix that with water in my flask, but then I was like, why am I cramping? So I just like bit into a couple too. So I ate a couple of those. So those aren't just pure salt. So they have like the other electrolytes and like the potassium and everything that you want. So they
Because
should be fine.
what I started thinking about was with just a lot of the electrolyte, like the pills that are just sodium, like I wonder if it was just like an imbalance of electrolytes, too much sodium, not enough magnesium, potassium.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not an expert in that, but it's puzzling.
If anyone listening to this has any ideas, I guess you can't drop a comment on YouTube you can, or on Spotify, feel free to send us a message or on Instagram. But
How was your carb intake on the run though?
Oh, that was fun. I was still doing I was doing the SS gels every like 2 miles, so
Okay. Yeah, because
that was fun.
they say taking carbs along with your electrolytes helps the absorption.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, I like felt like I was doing everything. Then I had some parts of the run felt really good, and then others just felt miserable and just walking. So that course was great. Like I really liked running through like when there's like all the people there, but then once you get into like the town where like there's no one there, it's like those parts of like I was just like cramping. I was like I can't keep running, so I'd have to like I'd walk those. But every time there's people there, I'd be like running, but still it was just not the day I trained for, and still a little shocked at everything that happened. But it is what it is. Just keep going. But another thing that I found interesting in the run was I think maybe right around mile 7, I started like my face just starts tingling. So this happened towards the end of mile 20, like 22 at Florida. So my face started tingling there too. And it's like it's the weirdest feeling ever. Just like I keep like no matter what I do, my face like tingles. And like if I take anything in it, like tingles even more. So that some aid stations I wouldn't even want to take anything. The only thing that would really help was like pouring water on myself, but I would still feel it. And I felt it for like 2 hours after the race too. And like I know Mike, you were with me.
yeah.
I have no idea what that like. I've been trying to research like face tingling during endurance events. I don't really haven't found
Yeah.
anything online. So if anyone knows anything, please reach
That,
out.
yeah, and I've looked into it a little bit, and I feel like it could benefit you to maybe wear a continuous glucose monitor for like 2 weeks during your build into Maryland, especially on some of your like 5 hour ride followed by like say like an hour like run, one of your really big brick workouts. Because that symptom, like Kate was saying, is a symptom of hypoglycemia, like low blood sugar level. So
Mhm.
even though you were taking in a lot of carbs and it's still possible to go hypoglycemic. is given Ironman and like Ironman, half Ironman racing and endurance racing in general, it can be difficult to keep your blood sugar level up. So I'm wondering if that's it. But yeah, I know you were taking in a lot of carbs, but as I'm thinking more about it and seeing other guys like Sam Long, for example, he took in at the St. George bike, he took in 320 grams of carbs, and he did it basically 2 hours flat or just under that, which is 160 grams.
But he's also pushing a lot. Like his
intensity
he's like
is
pushing
higher.
watts.
Yeah.
But he's also a big dude, and Seid, you're probably just like close to his height, right? And maybe body weight.
I think we're probably similar. He might be maybe a little tiny bit heavier than me, or probably the same.
Like 180, I think.
180-ish.
Yeah.
But
But
he's
he's
like 180
a lot more, so his energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's pushing the limits of what the old scientific belief was on carbohydrate intake per hour during activity. It's pretty cool to see. But
well, yeah. So what did your finish time end up being?
12:40.
12:40. Not quite sub 10, but more importantly, we both learned lots. Hey, at least you finished with the time.
Yeah.
At least you had a finishing time. But
you have a finisher shirt, you have a finisher medal. Even though it's not the goal time that you were hoping for, and I think just the fact that you were able to finish given the condition you were in and all the elements, it speaks a lot about your character. Yeah, we're very proud of you.
Yeah, pretty funny. Funny you mentioned the finisher shirt. My mom at that. My mom, she goes up and she when we're both there, my mom's with me at the finish line. She's like, "Oh, should go get a finisher shirt." I'm like, "No." Like, no. So I did not take a finisher shirt for anyone. I was like, Mom, come on, I can't have a finisher shirt. But yeah, no, definitely keep your kudos for pushing through. And honestly, I think I was saying the same thing. You know, the lessons you learn from failures are always more important and more valuable to your growth as an overall athlete. And both of us were so young. I think it's definitely better that we're going through these experiences now. Because I know personally, I definitely learned a lot more in the way I finished or didn't finish than I would have learned if, everything went my way. And even stuck to the time, at the end of the day, I think, it's going to happen eventually. And I'm happy I learned the lesson now. And moving forward, I will definitely have a different mindset. And I think you can say the same or similar.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's like the one positive for me is like, it was such a hard race, and like mentally it was just so taxing, just like knowing that you just like completely failed. But like feeling like now, like I know like when it feels like when it's really hurting and your day's actually going your way, like I feel like I can push through more like then, because like I was like, I'll remember the time when I like walked at mile 8 of a marathon. I'm like, if I'm at mile 22, my legs are about to fall off. I'm like not gonna walk because I have 4 miles left. So I'll just think back to the time where one crash affected the whole race. But like that's another annoying thing about for me is like I don't want to like just say like the race went bad because of a crash, but like I don't know. It's so frustrating because it is such a long day that you shouldn't dwell too much on what happened in the earlier in the race, but it just really did just sideline the rest of my race, which is frustrating. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it shouldn't. You're correct. A crash shouldn't sideline the rest of the race, but this was your first one, and so this is a learning experience. And going forward, now you know. And so, like for me, having a crap swim and a crap bike shouldn't cause me to DNF. And so going forward, we both definitely, as I mentioned, learn
definitely.
And I think Ironman Texas will end up being kind of a blessing in disguise for the both of us. I don't know, Jake, what do you think after Jake has currently downed an entire pint of
Chunky Monkey
Ben & Jerry's?
Oh, the best flavor.
You should have seen him, Sadie. He finished. He started the pint when we started the podcast, and he had just showed us that he finished the pint. So, have any insights, Jake?
Not really, but I did notice on Strava, every person I follow who raced Ironman Texas said like something negative. Like The
Yeah.
run, oh, my run was terrible. Oh, my swim sucked. Like, my bike was terrible. Like, this happened, that happened. I threw up. Like, every single person
Yeah.
I follow said something terrible about the race.
Yeah.
So it sounded like it was a rough day, and there was a lot of
Yeah.
problems.
Well, Natasha said in the 10 years that she, or 10 or 12 years that she has either raced or been to Texas, she said that this year was the worst she's ever seen it. And it was like the most chaotic, most DNFs. Yeah, she said that this was the worst Ironman Texas that she's ever seen. So, yeah, I think that says something to the field and to all the finishers out there.
Yeah, I thought there was like, was it like 18% DNF? Which is like pretty high, I think. Or was it something like that?
Especially for Ironman Texas, which is usually seen as like a very easy course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's next for both of you guys?
I am tentatively thinking of doing a half Ironman in the beginning of June. We'll see. As Mike mentioned at the beginning, Jake, and I are currently in Lake Placid doing a little bit of a training block. Not really, kind of a training vacation. So we'll see how I.
For me, it's a training block.
It's a VO2 block for Jake. It's endurance prep for Parker.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel when we get back from this. I still haven't signed up for it, but if I'm feeling good, then I'll sign up for it. But what I do know is I will be doing a big swim block after I get back. So lots of swimming, not a lot of biking or running. But I have already signed up for Muscleman. I keep getting Muscleman and Eagleman confused. Muscleman 70.3 July 14th. So that is 100%. Knock on wood, all things go well, will be the next race for me. How about you, Seid?
I have Maryland in September, and then I was thinking of doing Muscle Man, but I still haven't, I'm not sure yet. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you should do it. I think it would be fun. It would be a good experience, and I think it would get you in a good mindset leading into Ironman. And it helps break up the season a little bit because we have so much time between now and then. Heck, even if it's not Muscleman, I still think you should do an Olympic or a half between now and Maryland. Just to give you something else to focus on. And I know how much you love Ironman preps, but there's only so many preps you can do in your lifetime. So
Yeah.
I think especially be so long, that it would just make it more interesting and more fun if you just had a different goal. At least that's my take. So
Yeah, I'm thinking Muscle Man then. Mike, I can stay at yours. No need for road talk.
Yeah. I gotta get back for you, and I'll drive you over to the race.
Let's go.
I have a take on it. I mean, seeing that you've only done 2 triathlons in your life so far, and both of them have been full distance, I think it would benefit you or anyone really to get in, do a half Ironman. It's going to do really is help sharpen up your race skills, tactics, getting used to riding through people on the bike, swimming on people's feet, and then trying to manage the run. And I mean, I don't think you need to go into it with any specific goals in mind other than nail my race nutrition plan and just race at a comfortable level. That's like the nice thing about a 70.3 is you're below threshold, but you're definitely, I would say you're not aerobic. If you're racing it right, you're kind of in that like gray area, and it can be fun. In Muscleman especially, it's a great swim course. The lake is beautiful.
Is that usually wetsuit?
Yeah. It's never not been wetsuit. Last year,
Nice.
man was like, oh, it's 78 degrees, and the historical temperatures for the lake, I don't think have ever surpassed like 75. So I don't know. They probably were measuring it from the bathroom sink. I don't know what they were doing. But I think they were just trying to sell swim skins, to be honest. But then race day magically we were like 1 degree below. And then the bike, it can be a fast bike if you put down good power, and there's like one steady climb, but I wouldn't really call it a climb. It's just like a false flat for like 10 miles, and you're maybe at like a 0.5 to 1% grade. And then on the whole back half of the course, it's mostly downhill. So you kind of, if you need to, you could coast into the run, and then the run is great. There's like one hill that you hit twice on the double loop course, and it can be a fast one.
Yeah, Parker. So if I did Muscle Man, do you think I could do a bike block, like a 2-3 week bike block? So I need enough time.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Let's go.
Honestly, we'll do a swim block and then into a bike block, and then we'll be ready.
Okay, sweet.
All right, so that settles that. You guys heard it here. Seid will be at Muscleman. Seid, I expect to see a registration email after this podcast.
After this one. Yeah, I'll confirm in the next 2 weeks, but yeah, I probably will be there. Yes.
It's almost sold out though, so you better. I think last time I checked, it was getting pretty close to full. So
Yeah. Ironman sales tactics. Yeah, I know.
all right, well there you guys go. Any more questions from the moderator, Mike?
No, I just think that anyone who's listening probably like gets the vibe that this was more of a negative podcast, but I think there's a lot of positive takeaways, and I think just to remember that Ironman is tough. Anything can happen on the day, and we're proud of both of these guys for putting in a good fight. And things don't always go your way, but you're going to get another opportunity at it, and lessons were learned, and that's the best thing possible here. So
There you guys go. Hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you did, we'd appreciate a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Speaking of which, we did get a new review on Apple Podcast. I would like to give a big shout out to McGreen Boy on Apple Podcast. I think his name is Jack, but his username is McGreen Boy. Great insight on what it takes to train for these races. Guys are dedicated. Jack. So shout out to Jack, aka McGreen Boy, and then one more. Jack does try 19. Love listening to these three talk all things triathlon. If you guys want to shout out, then you know where to leave a rating on Apple, and then also on Spotify, you guys can send us a little question on that feature they have there. So we would appreciate that. And I guess that pretty much wraps us up. Don't know what the next podcast will be about, but I'm sure it'll be lots of fun and exciting. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.